Rocket MIA and the Cardboard Box Universe, an adventure of limitless dreams. It was a Sunday afternoon, and the weather outside had turned the greyest shade Mia had ever seen in her life. The sky looked as if someone had poured a giant bowl of cold oatmeal over it. The rain was tapping lazily against the windows, tap, tap, tap. 7-year-old Mia was upside down on the living room sofa, feet in the air, counting the cracks in the ceiling. She was bored. To make matters worse, the power had just gone out. The television had turned into a black screen, and her tablet's battery was dead. The house had suddenly become silent. Only the sound of the rain and the tick-tock of the clock in the kitchen could be heard. Her mother was on an important phone call in the study, and her father was in the garage trying to fix something. Mia was all alone. There is nothing to do, Mia sighed. She sat up straight. The room looked too small, too boring, and too brown to her. The coffee table was just a table, the rug was just a rug. There was no magic anywhere. Just then, her eyes caught something standing in the corner of the hallway. It was the giant, brown, empty cardboard box left over from the new refrigerator her father had bought last week. The box stood there, motionless, silent. But as Mia looked at it, she felt a stir inside. Was this just a box? Or was it something yet unknown? Mia approached the box. It was even bigger than she was. She touched the surface of the box with her finger. It was dry and rough. Then she leaned in and looked inside. It was dark and empty, smelling of fresh cardboard. "Hello," she whispered into the box. Her voice echoed slightly. At that moment, an idea flashed in Mia's mind like a ray of sunlight piercing through grey clouds. This box was her ticket out of this room. She ran quickly to her room. She returned with as many supplies as her arms could carry: crayons, felt-tip markers, colourful tape, aluminum foil, balls of yarn, and her favourite plush sidekick, the orange cat Barnaby. "Listen, Barnaby," said Mia, sitting the toy cat next to the box. "We are not bored children anymore. We are engineers, and this is our top-secret project." Mia got to work. The brown cardboard surfaces became her canvas. With purple and blue crayons, she drew swirling galaxies, exploding stars, and planets no one had ever seen before on the outside of the box. With aluminum foil she got from the kitchen, she made turbo engines on the sides of the box. She created control panels with colorful tape. A plastic plate became the steering wheel. And her mother's old colander, pasta strainer, became Captain Mia's shiny space helmet. An hour later, that boring box in the hallway was gone. In its place stood a magnificent spaceship named Lightning X, ready for takeoff. Mia, now Captain Mia, put on her helmet, the colander. She took her co-pilot Barnaby into her lap and climbed into the cockpit of Lightning X, inside the box. The inside of the box was more spacious than it looked from the outside. Mia started pressing the buttons she had made with tape. She made sounds with her mouth: beep, boop, bzzzzzt. "Control tower, this is Captain Mia," she said in a serious voice. "All systems go. Requesting permission to depart from planet Grey Day. Destination, the Nebula of Dreams." She answered herself, "Permission granted, Captain. Have a safe flight." Mia took a deep breath. She squeezed her eyes shut. She fired up the engines of her imagination. Countdown initiating. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. Mia started jumping inside the box. The box shook and moved with a creak. Mia shouted, "WOOSH!" She mimicked the sound of wind and roaring engines. In that instant, the living room floor disappeared. The rug turned into a bubbling sea of lava. The sofas became giant, smoky mountains to be crossed. The coffee table was an orbiting space station. And the ceiling fan was a giant meteor heading right for them. Meteor shower. Hold on tight, Barnaby, shouted Mia, swerving the steering wheel, plastic plate, hard to the right. The box tipped to the side. Mia was laughing out loud. She wasn't bored anymore. She wasn't on a grey day anymore. She was among the stars. After a long and bumpy journey, Mia had actually pushed the box from the hallway to the middle of the living room. Lightning X slowed down. Landing gear deployed, announced Mia. Hiss. The ship touched down with a soft thud. Mia opened the ship's hatch, the top flaps of the box, and poked her head out. The view was incredible. They were no longer in the living room. This was Planet Cotton Candy. The rug on the floor was soft as a pink cloud. The pillows on the sofas were giant marshmallows. The dust in the air sparkled like floating glitter. Mia and Barnaby disembarked from the ship. "It's very quiet here," said Mia. "Too quiet." The planet's natives, the giggling pom-poms, balls of colorful socks Mia had scattered on the floor, were nowhere to be seen. Everything looked pale. The cotton candy trees, potted plants, were drooping. Moving forward a bit, Mia realized what the problem was. In the middle of the planet, right where the television was, sat a huge, grey, grumpy cloud of sadness. This cloud looked so unhappy that the grey energy it radiated had sucked all the joy out of the planet. "Hello," said Mia bravely. "Why are you so sad?" The cloud of sadness, which was actually the blank TV screen, let out a deep, loud sigh, "UGH. Everything is so boring. The colors are too bright. The giggles are too loud. I just want to be grey." Mia looked at her sidekick Barnaby. "This is a serious situation, Barnaby. If we don't do something, even our imagination will turn grey." Mia had an idea. She couldn't fight the cloud of sadness to defeat it. In the world of dreams, problems weren't solved with swords, but with joy. "Wait here, Mr. Cloud," said Mia. "I'm going to bring you something." Mia ran back to Lightning X and grabbed her emergency joy kit, her crayons and paper. She returned to the cloud of sadness. "Your problem," said Mia, like a doctor, "is that you haven't seen anything funny." Mia sat on the floor and started drawing. First, she drew a cow roller skating. Then, an octopus wearing a hat and dancing. Next, a laughing sun with a red ball on its nose. She showed every picture she drew to the cloud of sadness. "Look! All 8 of this octopus's legs are tangled up." The cloud of sadness didn't react at first. But Mia didn't give up. She made her funniest face, stuck out her tongue, and crossed her eyes. She started singing a very silly song she made up on the spot, "Bouncy bouncy giraffe, wearing pajamas, flying in the air, holding a banana." And then, a miracle happened. There was a tiny ripple in the corner of the cloud of sadness, the TV. then a shake. And suddenly, a huge, loud laugh burst out of the cloud. As the cloud laughed, its grey color began to fade. Rainbow colors burst out from inside it. The cloud's joy spread across the entire planet cotton candy. The pillow marshmallows became fluffy again, the plant trees stood up straight, and the giggling pom-poms, socks, came out of hiding and started bouncing around. Mia had done it. She had saved an entire planet using only her imagination and joy. Just then, a voice came from the real world. Her mother's voice. Mia. Where are you, sweetie? The power is back on. In an instant, planet cotton candy began to fade. The lava sea turned back into a rug, the mountains back into sofas. Mission accomplished, Barnaby. Time to go home, said Mia. She took off her helmet and stepped out of the box. When her mother walked into the living room, the lights were on. Oh my goodness, said her mother, seeing the painted box and the papers on the floor. What happened here? I thought you were bored to death. Mia looked at her mother with a huge smile on her face and a smudge of blue paint on her cheek. Not at all. Barnaby and I saved planet cotton candy from a grey cloud. It was a very exhausting adventure. That evening, when Mia lay in bed in her room, the rain was still falling outside. But the weather didn't look grey anymore. The light from the street lamps refracted in the raindrops, creating sparkling patterns on the glass. Mia looked at Lightning X standing in the hallway. Tomorrow, it could be a submarine. Or a castle. Or a time machine. Mia had learned something very important that day. The strongest magic wasn't in tablets or televisions. The strongest magic was inside her own mind. The moment she closed her eyes and said, "What if," the world changed. Boredom wasn't an end, it was a beginning. An empty box wasn't just a box, it was a door opening to infinite possibilities. Mia hugged her pillow. Her mind was full of new adventures. She now knew that as long as she could dream, she would never truly be bored, even on the greyest day in the world. Good night, Captain Mia. Good night, limitless dreams.